This one's called the DIY PVC frame wall of light. Well, what do I mean by that? Well, here on the left side of the screen, you can see that I've made a PVC frame here. And I just literally PVC piped the stuff you use in your sprinkler systems for your yard, okay? And I made a box frame. This is the one that I'm showing today is about the same size as a twin bed that you would have at home. Well, why did I size it as a twin bed? Well, because then you can use bed sheets to form the covering on this wall of light. Why is it a wall of light? Well, this company called Lastolite makes this really cool product, and it's called the Lastolite Highlight. And you can see down there in the lower right how much these things cost. They're $350 to $700. Are they worth it? Well, yes, but they're also $350 to $700. And so you think about what can I buy for $350 or $700, depending on the size. You can get a nice lens, you can get a bunch of flashes. There's a lot of other stuff. So I love the Lastolite products. I own a ton of Lastolite products. In fact, I have some here on set today. They make very good gear. But I'm a recovering engineer, and I wrote a book on DIY. So I'm like, well, maybe there's a way I can do this less expensively. And so went to the hardware store, sized all this stuff, and I've got all the instructions in that bonus material. So what do we do with this wall of light? Well, the idea is that we put lights inside of this thick wall of light here, and that illuminates the background. So it's an easy way to create a white seamless effect or a white bright background. It's just a super easy way to do that. And so the bigger you make this frame, the more space you have to move the model around. And as we'll see here in a moment, I made this one about a twin-size bed, and she's gonna be a little bit, not that she's big, but she fills up most of the frame, and that would be for any human, any size human. And so the larger you make that frame, the more space you have to move the model around, okay? And we'll see how that works here in just a second. So I think I got all this. Oh, the cool thing about my DIY solution, it's low cost. I think the overall cost of this was probably maybe 20 bucks. And then it stows small. In other words, I can take it all down and put it in a little bag about this big, and I can take it anywhere and then put it together on location. So that's pretty cool. And it's not $700, which is good as far as I'm concerned. So let's just talk you through this. I'm going to set my camera down here for a second. My tether's not long enough to walk over there. Let me show you how this works. So I've got two bed sheets, two white bed sheets. That's important. And you can see the frame just like this. Cool. And I built it, I think it's like 65 inches or something like that tall. What I would recommend is if you're building your own, I would recommend making it like a queen size or even a king size frame. That will give you a lot more space. And just from my personal experience here, don't build it too thick, otherwise your bed sheets won't wrap all the way around it. The first one I built was way too thick, and I couldn't get those bed sheets, and I'm like, ah! So build it about 8.5 inches deep, okay? 8.5 or 9 inches deep. Now, what we do is you take your lights and you put your lights inside the frame and you shine them towards the back, just like I've done here. Okay, shine them towards the back, and then we put the front over the, got it?
Yep.
All right, cool. I think that'll work. Actually, oh, is that the inside one? Okay, let's do that one first. Yeah, oh, better. Thank you. Mm-hmm. And then one of the lights, because all of my lights today, I'm using speed lights. I just want to make this as accessible for everybody as possible. You'll notice I'm not using big strobe lights. So my speed lights here, they're all being triggered just as what we call traditional slave light. So there's no technology. It just sees a pulse of light and it goes. So one of these flashes has to be out so that it can see the pulse of light. And then once that little flash inside there pops, then everything else will pop. All right, I think we're ready? We're good? Now notice I've got her pretty close to the background, and I do that because now that background is going to be shining a lot of light forward to get a nice white backdrop. So I'm going to have to put some key lights on the front. But before I take it, actually, I'm going to take it with the lights in the front. What I was going to say was maybe I take a picture without them, but I don't think that's value added for this scenario. All right, so this will be our key light. This will cause the effect in her eye. Get this about the right height. Cool. And why don't I have you pull that one a little bit over to the left. First test shot. We practiced this morning. Hopefully it still works. All right, here we go. 1, 2, 3. Let's see what that looks like. Oh, hey, it's almost like we planned it that way. Lovely. Yeah, it's. I heard a wow from the audience, which is neat. Now, making that background white is a little bit of art and a little bit of science. Typically, you want your background light, whatever it is, whether it's just like a white seamless or in this case, a wall of light, you want that to be about 1.5 stops brighter than the light on the subject. And you can use a handheld light meter to do this, or you can just kind of like, it's close enough, you know. In this case, if we look at that photo, you can see the background's a little bit too bright. Can you kind of see it's not like, there's not a lot of contrast on there? It's almost a little bit washed out. So let's drop down the power of those background lights. Maybe drop them down each by 2/3 of a stop. And just to speed it up, I'll hop over to this side as well. So they're each at let's go 2/3. So let's go like 8, 1/8 minus 2/3. Okay. This is way down here. All right, cool. So we're dropping everything down by 2/3, and subtle adjustments often are all you need to make to get it looking just so. Ready. All right, here we go. 1, 2, 3. Nice. And one more, pretty close. Nice smile. Love it. Yeah, that's better. More contrast. It still might be a little bit bright, but you get the idea. You get the concept here. Next thing I want to do is I want to use the same setup, but I'm going to have you stand up, and I'm going to have you come forward, and then let's move the key lights or the front lights forward about, well, too far. Go back about 3 feet, yeah. And then just move all the main lights the same distance forward that she moved. And what I want to do here is show you the importance of the background size. And I think you all, especially in the studio audience, you're going to go, oh yeah, it's just not going to work for this scenario. So if you want to do a full-length portrait, you got to have a king-size product for the background. Okay, my friend, here we go. Back up a little farther. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, it's still kind of a cool-looking shot. It's not bad. Actually, I really like that picture. I really do like that. But the point I'm making is that the background size is important. So make it much larger, and then that allows you to do full-length portraits. One other point I want to make here, and I'm going to walk over this way. Let's say that we did want, go ahead and stay where you're at. Let's say that we did want a full sweep from the background in front of her. So how do we pull that off? Well, the idea generally is that you have maybe a seamless paper, or you have another bed sheet that you kind of pull out here into the foreground. Now that's what the Lastolite product that I was talking about, that's what that does. They have these kind of translucent floor trains that come out from that, and they allow you to do full-length shots. So, you know, as always, DIY, sometimes you have to put a lot more thought into the DIY product versus the commercial product, they've already thought everything out. Collapsible backdrop. These are great. I love collapsible backdrops. One of my favorites, again, Lastolite. I told you I use a lot of their gear. Sometimes with these collapsible backdrops, you can use them for multiple purposes. So this is a translucent collapsible backdrop. And there I just open up on camera, you can see they fold down relatively small. So that means they're really portable, right? You can bring them just about anywhere you want to go. This, I'm 6 feet tall, so you can see that this is about a 6 foot tall backdrop, maybe a little bit less than that. You can buy these in a variety of different colors. So this is translucent. I use this as a backdrop. I use it as a reflector in the sun. I also use it as a scrim. I don't know if you've heard of that term before. A scrim basically allows you to go over the person's head like that, and then block out the sun. And so on a bright sunny day, which we have all the time here in Seattle, it's super useful, right? And then when you fold them up, it's a little bit of a skill set to do so, but they just fold up nice and small, and they go right in the bag. My recommendation, if you are buying these types of products, get a white translucent one like this. You'll find it so useful. In fact, you can use this for your wall of light. You just put flashes behind it and it shines onto the back of this, and because it's translucent, it'll do exactly what we did there with that bed frame example. Another recommendation that I have, here's another company called Botero. I bought them from one of the big online camera stores that you all know and love. So this one is gray and black. Black on one side, gray on the other. Super useful. Man, I cannot tell you how many photos I've taken, how many portraits I've taken with this backdrop over the years. This is kind of beat up now. It's water stained from one day I was out shooting in the rain, so I got to replace it. But still, super useful, especially the black side.
What size is it?
There's basically he asked the question, what size is that? It's basically a 4-foot by 6-foot backdrop. Okay, now let's go look at the one that we have set up here in the studio. And let's go ahead and move it a little bit more to, yeah, right there, right on. So this one is made by, I forget, is this Savage?
This is a Savage.
Yeah, so this is Savage. Savage backdrop company, they make all kinds of backdrops. This one here is a mottled, M-O-T-T-L-E-D, mottled backdrop. Thank you, Vanna. She's modeling it too. And this actually has two colors. There's a darker color, which we've got shown here, and then on the back side of that is a lighter color overall. You notice the length of this, so it's approximately 6 feet tall. How tall are you? 5'7"? So she can stand in front of this, and if it's not high enough or tall enough, you just basically stand up, move the stand up in the background. You know what? I'm going to pull this out just to show the camera the back of this real quick. So let's do that. My tether's good.
Tether's good.
Okay, here we go. For camera, see how I've got that connected? It's just a standard light stand. Okay, and then here on the top, if we can get a tight camera shot of that, I can find these on Amazon, and I have that as a link in that shopping guide. I wasn't able to find this at some of the other camera stores. I don't know if they sell them or they just have them named differently, but it's basically a light stand backdrop clamp. Search for that. But I found it on Amazon, and they're pretty cheap. They're like 10 to 12 bucks. And all it is a little clamp here to hold that backdrop in place. And then if I need it to go higher, I just raise the stand, the arms of the stand up higher. This stand is only a 6-foot high stand, so I can't get it any higher than it currently is. Okay. So let's have some fun with this backdrop. Let's have you sit on an apple box. We'll pull over an apple box. Okay, and we'll pull over that Photix. Right on, come forward a bit. Always back to that 6-foot distance thing. Move that way a tiny bit, right there. And for this, we'll just do a variety of sitting positions. We may even mix it up a little just to have some fun. Yeah? Your smile is so contagious. I love it. Okay. I'm going to move this one a little bit more in front. And I'm just looking at alignment here, make sure she's kind of centered in the backdrop. You look good, nice tall. Even though your hands won't be on camera, what I'd like you to do is kind of put them both one on top of each other. Yep. Super. Super. Okay, are those background lights on?
Yes.
Okay. Great. Here we go. 1, 2, 3. And another one. 1, 2, 3. Nice. Let's see what we got here on screen. Oh, love it. Looks great. Let's talk through the lighting here real quick, just because I'm a light geek like most people are. You notice as we're looking at, let's see, it would be our right, her left shoulder. We got some light there on her shoulder. That light is coming from my background lights, okay? And so you may or may not want that spillover from your background light. So let's rotate those umbrellas so that they don't actually impact her. Yeah, perfect, that looks good. And we'll shoot again. And just to keep things simple today, I am using umbrellas in the background. A lot of times we'll use flags or something like that to block out light coming onto the subject. But for now, we're good. So same hand position, cool. And actually, just to show it's a different shot, let's have you actually rotate your knees that way. Perfect. And do the same thing with the hands. Love it. Pull them back a little bit. Yeah. Nice. 1, 2, 3. Super. And one more. 1, 2, 3. Love it. Cool. So you can see now on her shoulder, we've reduced the amount of light coming on her shoulder. As you're setting up your backdrops, one thing to think about from a lighting perspective is you're going to need at least, well, I say 4 lights. 4 lights in your studio. 2 lights for the background, 2 lights on the subject. And a lot of photographers will say you need 5 lights in the studio. 2 background lights, 1 rim light so that it can shine on the back of the model, and then 2 lights in the foreground. So that's kind of the ideal state, having 5 lights. Today, we're just keeping things a little bit simpler and going with 4. Let's take another shot, and let's turn off those background lights. And make sure I'm on task here. So same scenario, now the background lights are off, just showing you all the different options you can do with these collapsible backdrops. All right, cool. Nice. And I'm gonna shoot a horizontal photo. So these other previous shots have been vertical. I'm gonna shoot horizontal just to show some of the limitations with these smaller backdrops. And I put her dead center on purpose. I wouldn't normally compose this way, but you can see kind of the working space that you've got to deal with. There's no reason, there's no law that says that you can't rotate that backdrop 90 degrees, right? So if you're just doing headshots and you want to do horizontal, well then rotate it 90 degrees and I think you'll be happy with those results. I always want to show the limitations of these tools. So we're going to do another standing photo. Cool. So let's go ahead and pull that Apple box out. Have you stand right where you're at there. That's great. And let's do kind of a little more serious shot because you're so bubbly happy. Let's mix things up a little. Go that way, tiny bit. Move your feet that way 3 inches. Whole body that way 3 inches. Okay, cool. Serious shot. Deep breath. Nice. Okay. Again, I want to show some of the limitations here. That background is a little bit too low. I've got her standing. So would you just lift up the background? Just literally just lift it up about a foot. Yeah. Yeah. Human-powered light stands. I love them. All right. Yeah, stop laughing.
Right, I'm laughing.
Quit it. All right. We got to get that smile. Yeah. Oh, you know what? I love that picture. Sometimes what you want and what you get are two different things, and what you get is better than what you want. That's my philosophy for the day. Since she's standing up, I also need to raise the foreground lights so I get the catch light kind of in the upper position of her eyeball. All right, here we go. 1, 2, 3. Ooh, love it. Yeah, that background looks really nice. Pretty pleased with that look. And you can see in the upper right-hand corner, oops, I got the edge of the backdrop. Nothing a little Photoshop or cropping can't fix. And that's what I love about digital photography these days, is there's a lot of options for fixing your in-studio mistakes. Let's go ahead and move to the next one. Now this one is very cool. This is a DIY project. Brick walls are awesome. I love brick walls for backdrops. The problem with brick walls is they're not very portable, right? It's hard to move a brick wall into position unless you go to the hardware store and you buy your own brick wall. And so we're going to pull in this brick wall here in a second, and once it's in place, I'll show you all what we're doing. This is called a hardboard wall panel, and you can find this at the two big home product stores in the United States of America, and in the shopping guide, they are there. I've got links, I've got dimensions, and all of this good stuff. So most of these hardware stores actually sell 2 or 3 types of these brick walls. The traditional brick wall that we all know and love is this kind of red brick, which is great. But I also found, I was shopping for this stuff last week, they have white brick wall, just like we have in this studio here against that wall over there. We've got a white brick wall. So they have the same type of faux brick as this real white brick. And then they've got this kind of gray brick as well. So I just want to say that there's multiple options now. Like I said, we live in the golden age of backdrops. There's just so many options available for us as photographers. So I bought this stuff. This is a 4-foot by 8-foot sheet. I think it cost me I'm going to say it was like $25 or $30. Not too much. 25 or $30 for a backdrop that's legit. It's very useful. So what are some of the upsides? It's pretty inexpensive, right? 25, $30, great. This may or may not be an upside. You need to think studio-based. You're not going to throw this thing in the back of your Honda and get it onto location at the city park, right? So you're going to need a pickup truck to move this around if you want to move it around. That said, I actually own a pickup truck, and I actually have shot some of this stuff outside. And so if you've got a crew with you, you can actually get it into position and do basically brick backdrop photos anywhere in the world and make up your own. You get this basically an urban, gritty feel, an easy urban look. And then, as I said before, there's lots of similar options. You got the white bricks, you got the kind of gray wash, whitewash stuff. Lots of different options here. So let's go over here and look at what we've got, and I'll explain how I set it up. And then we will take a few pictures.
And Mike, we have our new model, Harjoot, who goes by Joe.
Joe. Welcome, Joe. Come on in. Everyone welcome Joe to the stage. All right. Multiple models today. It's great. Joe and Mike.
Nice to meet you.
Good to meet you. So I'm just going to have you stand here and look beautiful. Cool. All right. So let me talk through this. I just want to point out that this is a raised relief. In other words, there's an actual physical texture on this. It's not like painted on or anything like this. This is an actual 3-dimensional brick. The depth here is a few millimeters deep. So the reason I'm making that point is because you can actually side light it with a background light, and we're going to try that here. And you can get some nice texture relief on that brick to show the raised, and that adds depth to your photograph. So that's one of the reasons I really like this. It is pretty flimsy. The overall thickness of this is something like a 1/4 inch thick. So it doesn't really stand on its own very well. So what we've done is we've put, we've clamped it down with a C-stand here in the background, but also we added some foam core to the back just to give it some rigidity, all right? It is pretty light. I can move it around on my own, but it still weighs probably 30, 40 pounds, maybe 30 pounds, something like that. So it takes a little bit of effort to move around. What else? You can, if you want to, you can screw it to the wall. So like if you've got a studio and you want to just screw this stuff onto the wall, onto your regular drywall, works great. In fact, last week I did my own video production, and I used a whole wall of these, 5 of these on a panel, and just temporarily screwed them to some 2x4s to make my own studio setup for a video project I was working on. All right, are you ready?
I'm ready.
All right, cool. So I think what we'll do first is we'll take our first picture with just the 2 front lights, and then we'll pull in the back lights, and we'll try to do some side lighting to get some texture and relief. And that maybe requires to pull the umbrella off. We'll see. So starting out the backlights off. Okay, go ahead and move this way a little bit. Nice. I'm going to have you turn your shoulder like this. Cool. I'm going to have you bring this hand up. Let's go like that. Nice. This hand about there. Cool. So as relaxed and comfy as you feel, we'll move the hands around a little bit. All right, yeah, and let's pull this here. And this here. Yeah, and these these are 4 feet by 8 feet, so you get lots of height, which is fantastic. Actually, come forward about, yeah, perfect. You read my mind. Almost like we practiced this. Okay, and these are on?
Yep.
Thank you. Here we go, first shot. You know what? That doesn't look very comfortable. Yes, that looks more comfortable. You knew what you were doing before we even shot. Move that way move your feet that way about 6 inches, like literally walk that way towards Kenna. There we go. That was like a foot. All right, right there, perfect. And go ahead and turn your back shoulder towards me. Yeah, nice torso twist. And then your back hand, you can leave it there. Okay, we're good. Here we go, 1, 2, 3. And again, 1, 2, 3. Let's see what that looks like. All right. No background lights, they're off. So all of that brightness on the background is coming from light spillage, basically from that stand there. So I'm gonna move it a little bit so we don't get as much light on the background. Let's do a little more side light there. And you might wanna flag it too. We'll see. Okay, here we go, 1, 2, 3. Nice. Hopefully our background goes a little bit darker. Did go a little bit darker. If you want the background to go even darker than that, then we move her farther away from it. So because this is an intro class, I want to show you how that works. So let's move the whole set, the lights and her this way by about 3 feet. So go ahead and step this way. Great. I'm gonna have you turn your body the other way, 180. Well, towards me. Here, I'll show you. Go like this. Cool. Same general pose. I like it. Let's do that, yeah. Hand up here, this hand. Let's just go about like that. Nice long fingers. Looks good. Do a little twist like that, and then you'll look right at the camera. Okay, that's a nice looking shot. 1, 2, 3. I'm gonna come in close. Here we go. And let's have you turn your nose a little more towards me. A little more, right there. Down a tiny bit, and back up, right there. Super, here we go. I'm gonna shoot a horizontal picture so you get a feel for what this looks like, how much working space we've got. And then I'm gonna do a full length shot just so you can see what that's gonna look like. Again, some of those limitations. 85 millimeter full length. Okay. So if you want, normally the brick, in most buildings, the brick doesn't extend to the floor, right? So this is okay, this is normal. So what I recommend is if you do full-length shots, make sure your floor looks good. A lot of times a concrete floor works great for this. Carpet, not as gritty looking overall. So just make sure that the overall ambiance of the set looks like what you would expect a brick wall to look like in your photograph. Let's try a little bit of backlight, and let's take off an umbrella and just kind of wash the light like almost parallel to that background. And while he's setting that up, we can answer a question if we have any.
So I have a question about how bright the background should be. You said it should be about 1.5 stops over the brightness of the subject. Is that true for the white backgrounds or all backgrounds in general?
Just for the white. So when you want that white to be white, like the perfect amount of white, you do about 1.5 stops over the exposure for the subject, for the face of the subject. And the easiest way to check that is generally with a handheld light meter. So like if the subject was metered at f8, you would put that meter on the background and it would say f11 or maybe f13, somewhere in that range.
And what about the other backgrounds that are not white? How bright do you want them to be?
It's a great question, and that's all just creativity. How do you feel? Do you want it more moody, more bright? So basically, the brighter the background, the more joyful your image is going to be. The darker the background, the more heavy and intense the photo is going to be. So I generally, the more sinister and dramatic, I want that background darker. You know, for youth, for kids, imagine a little girl in a tutu or her ballet outfit, something like that. You want that background to be bright and happy. Good?
Yep, thanks.
Cool. Whoa. Don't trip on your tether. All right, are we good on that? Okay, let's do an experiment. My experiment here is to see if we get some nice texture on that background. All right, here we go. Oh, the tether came out. I tripped on it. Thank you. The audience, the live audience called that one. Would you check and make sure we're active on the tethering? Okay, here we go. Super. And one more. Now that I'm in focus. Did we come through?
Yep.
All right, we came through. All right, we get, let's move that background flash in front of the wall by about 6 more inches. Yeah, cool. And let's try that. I was gonna say let's take off the diffusion dome, but for now, I think that'll be good. All right, here we go, 1, 2, 3. Cool. Yeah, all right. It's a little bit too bright, but you can see with a little bit of finesse and changing the brightness of that background light, you can get this kind of wash across the back to show that texture. But because we've got a few more backdrops to show today, I'm gonna just move on. So you get it. So that is your DIY brick wall backdrop. Seamless paper, the photographer's best friend. So quick show in the audience, how many of you have actually shot with seamless paper in the background? Oh my goodness, literally almost every hand goes up in the room. A few of you haven't. Seamless paper is fantastic because it's so useful and you can use it to create a perfectly clean, smooth background surface. Hey, you know what? While I'm doing this, I'm gonna have one of you untangle my tether while I'm talking through this. I've lost some working distance. Seamless paper is generally studio-based. In other words, you need to, as you'll see here in just a second, it's usually on a stand or it's on some backdrop stand that without wheels. It's hard to move that around. So you gotta be thinking studio-based here. The stand that I'm using today actually has a gear drive system where you can pull down the seamless paper. Most photographers, most people in the room, me included, I don't have these gear systems in my own studio where I live. So there's a lot of technology. Some of these, they're actually motorized. You can spend money to get these things motorized and push a button, the white comes down, the black comes down, the red comes down. Today though, I'm gonna be doing it manually. Clean backgrounds, what I mean by that, the backgrounds are perfectly smooth. They don't take a lot of effort to get that nice, smooth look. Whereas a muslin, the first thing we showed today, we spent an hour steaming it before you all arrived today, before we started the class. So the cool thing about seamless paper is you just unroll it, you shoot with it, and then you're gonna step on it, it's gonna get beat up. You literally just chop it off with scissors, recycle, you don't throw it away. You recycle the paper, and then the next time you just pull down more seamless. So it's a disposable product. It's meant to be disposable. It's easy to light. There aren't a whole lot of things you have to worry about. Like with muslins, a lot of times you have to think about cross-lighting because the muslins can be wrinkly, and you don't want that to show up on camera. These, it's simple. You just shine a light on the background and you're good to go. If you want to go simple, I recommend that you go with a white seamless. In fact, if you want to buy 2 types of seamless, I recommend just straight white and straight black. And the reason why is because with white, you can modify that background with gels, with color gels. So you can do blue, red, yellow, green, whatever you want, and now your white seamless becomes a different color backdrop. Super cool. And then if you're shooting with a black backdrop, well, you can make that gray just by the amount of light that you put on there. So you can make a black seamless gray. You can make a white seamless gray, and a white seamless white, and a black black. So anyways, you get a lot of mileage out of that. Well, enough of me yapping. Let's go ahead and take some pictures with the seamless. In fact, before we do, let me just talk through the system here. All right, cameras, can you guys see me all right? Okay, cool. What we have here is we've got a wheeled stand. So these are on wheels. So if you've got a studio at home and you're kind of a one-person show, if you're a one-woman photographer, you don't have a help on the set, wheels make a huge difference because you can literally just wheel this around to wherever you're shooting. These are traditional C-stand type scenario. We got a crossbar across the top. This is holding 3 different seamless rolls. So today I'm going to shoot with the black, and then this works just like this. You basically rotate it. Try not to. It is pretty tight. Well, trust me, you can rotate it, and then they come down, they come up. You can roll them out on the floor, whatever you want to do. A 3 seamless paper stand is very helpful if you're a commercial studio, and they make them in even more if you want to. For me, Mike Hagan, I actually just will do them one at a time because I don't want to I haven't spent the money on a 3 seamless setup. So today we got Creative Lives, which makes me happy. All right, so I'm gonna have you, well, actually for this first one, I'm gonna have you stay right here. Okay. Cool. And my goal here is to make the background look black. So think through your mind, how would I get the background to look fully black? Well, I have to move the subject away from the background, and I need to turn the background lights off. So that's where we'll start for this one. I'm gonna pull this off to the side, bring this one in here, and you're positioned well. You know what, because you're fairly tall, I am going to bring in an apple box and have you sit. Okay, go ahead and grab a seat, point your feet off that way. Great, and if you want to cross your legs, if that's more comfortable, you can do that. Sweet. And now she's sitting down, so I go ahead and drop these. Okay. And to make this even more dramatic, I think I'll just do one light. I'll just start with one light. So I'm gonna turn this one off. So we just got one key light there. Nice. Go ahead and bring your hands up to your thigh, one hand on top of the other. Pull it back a little farther. Perfect. Thank you for untangling that for me. All right, tether good to go? Okay. Here we go. 1, 2, 3. Let's see if that background went black and if our exposure overall looks good. Very moody look, eh? It's a little dark, maybe. How does it look on the laptop? Bright enough, or should I brighten up a little bit?
I go up.
Okay, let's go ahead and bring this up. We're currently at 16th. Let's bring it up a full stop. Now you can see how dramatic this looks. If you want that background to be fully black, there's a few things that we can do. One is we can move her even farther away from the backdrop. Another is we can shoot at a higher aperture, which causes the light to fall away even quicker. I'm shooting at f10 now, so I'm happy with this look though. I kind of like a little bit of gray on that background. All right, 1, 2, 3. And since this is a serious shot, let's work on serious. So that shot was pretty serious, but I'm gonna have you maybe look off towards the audience a little bit, nose down. Yeah. And let's keep your nose where it's at, but move your eyes to look maybe more over towards, yeah, right there. Perfect. What I'm doing is I'm getting the whites of her eyes kind of lined up so they're symmetrical to the camera. And I'm gonna come in a little closer. Nice tight headshot, horizontal. Cool, black backdrops, love them. Now what I want to do is I want to show you how to make that black backdrop gray. So let's just bring in one light.
Left or right?
Yeah, that one you're at, perfect. And what power is that at? 8th power? Okay, so the front light's at 8th power, the back light's at 8th power. Let's just see what happens. My goal is to make that black backdrop gray. Just again, to show you the flexibility with the seamless paper. Okay, same look. 1, 2, 3. Okay. Let's physically move it back and then rotate it. Yeah, perfect. That's great. All right, and let's look right at the camera for this one. Go ahead and turn your nose to the camera. More nose towards me. Perfect. Here we go. I think we got your eyes open. Did it feel like you blinked? All right. So I've moved the light a little bit too far back. Okay, let's move it forward again. And then, Jamie, could we bring in that light as well? Go ahead and turn that one on. And we'll set that one to, let's set it to 16th power.
Okay.
So you can see we're getting a little bit of a wash, a little bit of a brightness differential from the left to the right, which is good. And if you want it to be equal, then you got to pretty much put the same light on the left as you do on the right.
All right, this one's on 16.
Okay? And here we go. Nose towards me a little bit. Great. Nice. Super. A little bit hot on the edges, and so with a little more finesse and finagling with the lights, I can get that to look fairly even. And it really depends on the angle of the lights to the backdrop and how far in front of the backdrop those lights are. So black backdrop, you can make it fully black, you can make it gray. Let's now go to the red backdrop. And pretty much the same thing overall. I just want to show you a different color to get a feel for what that looks like. All right, so this is red. Everything else is basically the same. No difference on their brightness of lights, power. Although for you, just to mix things up, let's go ahead and have you rotate your body. Yep, towards this light. Super. Like it. And now this one, since I'm not doing black, I don't want this one to be as deep and dark and moody. I might end up adding in my second light for some fill. We'll see what this one looks like though. Okay, go ahead and put your hands on your thigh. Bring them back, yeah, right on. Super, 1, 2, 3. Let's see what that looks like. What a difference. That's pretty cool. I think that the background looks a little bit too bright, a little bit too hot overall. Let's just, and you can solve this a few ways. Let's show everyone how to solve it not with power adjustments, just with distance adjustments. So go ahead and pull it back about 3 feet, yeah. And then watch the spillover from the umbrella so that it doesn't shine onto her. Yeah, super. So I'm not going to change the power of the flashes. Rather, I'm just going to change the distance of the flashes. And that'll make that red just a little bit darker overall. Okay, here we go. And because I like to try vertical, we'll do this. 1, 2, 3. Okay. You can see I've got a little bit of the right side of the seamless is reflecting a bit of light. So I'd have to work on that a bit, and that's generally light position for the background. Probably moving that background light this way. Yeah, that's going to be better. And let's go ahead and drop the power on that one down. Is it at a 16th now?
No, 8th.
8th. Let's go to a 16th, maybe even a 16th minus a third.
Minus a third.
Yeah. Ready?
Yep.
Super.
1 sec. Okay, got it.
Oops. Okay. 1, 2, 3. Right on. All right, so that's red. And there's a lot of stuff you can do with your lighting in the background. I wanted an evenly lit red backdrop. I think that looks great. You can also use a snooted flash. So a snoot is just like you could just use paper, because I'm a DIY guy. You just use paper and tape to make this basically snoot and make a pool of light behind her head. That always looks pretty good. You can also use little reflectors, little tiny reflectors to make a cone of light. There's a lot of different options. All right, shall we go with white? Let's do white seamless now. And go ahead and pull that white out so it comes out about 3 feet from the background, maybe even 4 feet. So I'm going to have you go ahead and stand up. Why don't you come over here and stand over here while we do a little bit of studio change. I love white. White's great, but white takes a lot of effort. Okay, so it takes a lot of skill to illuminate that background just so. A lot of times with white, I like to do full-length shots. So that's one of the shots we'll do today, show you how that works. We'll have to position these umbrellas in the background so we get even illumination, not just from behind her head, but even almost down to the floor. So we may even have to bring in 4 background lights. We'll see what it looks like. All right, we got about 3. Let's actually come down a little bit more. let's give it so we can come out there. Should we throw in a sandbag? Let's throw in a sandbag either side. Okay, and then get it as far to the edge as possible so we can. All right, cool. You ready? All right, go ahead and stand basically on the front of that. All right, on. Now she's wearing heels and she's already pretty tall, so I can see that I might run into a limitation on the height of this. Again, height matters with a lot of your backdrop stuff. So these little 6-foot backdrops, like I was showing before, sometimes don't cut it for full-length shots. I recommend the top of that bar in the background being at least 9 feet, maybe even 10 feet to do full-length portraits. Let's go ahead and stand on the seamless. Watch your heels. Yeah. Okay. Pro tip, gaffer tape. Tape this stuff down. You don't want people tripping. Tripping is no good in the studio, so a lot of times I will actually tape it down, just knowing I'm gonna throw it away when, recycle it when I'm done. And tape matters in the studio. Okay, cool. I think we're good. The goal here is to get that background nice bright white to kind of be about a stop to a stop and a half brighter than her. And because it is white, I want everything to be bright. We'll see how that goes. All right, the background light's on?
Yep.
Okay, and what are they at, 16th? All right, we'll try it, see what we get. All right, let's do something fun. Let's, I don't know, fun, meaning cross your arms. Yeah, there we go. I like the sass, that's cool. Shot number 1, let's see what that looks like. Okay, I don't need to do much more. We kind of got it. Again, my front lights are about an 1/8 power, but they are some distance away from her, so there's a lot of light fall off. My background lights are at 16th power, and they're closer to the background. So the brightness is looking pretty good overall. I'm pleased with that. Let's move this Photix back a bit so we get a little more cross lighting. And what I'm looking at is the catch lights in her eye. A lot of times having a single catch light's cool. Having 2 catch lights is a little bit awkward. So I'm trying to just move that off a little bit. Okay, take that shot again. And let's go ahead and do the same sass, but let's look off that way a bit. Cool. Go ahead and bring your left shoulder towards me. Yeah. Looking away. Look at the camera now. Right on, hand on the hip. Super. And then before we move on from this shot, I'm going to do a full-length shot just to show you all what that looks like. I probably should have pulled that seamless out farther in front of her now that I look at it. It's nice to have about 2 or 3 feet in front of her. Again, nothing Photoshop can't fix. Alrighty. And let's put your other hand, like pretend it's in a pocket. Yeah, oh, perfect. And let's try to bend that elbow just a tiny bit. Yes, like it. Full-length shot here. And let's turn your hips towards me, pick a hip, and go ahead and rotate your feet also. So pretend like you're kind of at a party and you're standing there feeling pretty comfy. Weight on that back foot. And go ahead and back up so both feet are on the white. Right on. Yeah, bring that hip towards me a tiny bit. Perfect. So you notice I'm shooting a little bit loose. And you know, I'm not cropping it super tight. And what that allows me to do is it allows me a lot of flexibility in Photoshop and Lightroom after the fact. Typically a shot like this, you're going to shoot it from, maybe it's going to go in a magazine, maybe it's going to go on her modeling portfolio site, but you just want to have a lot of working room around it. So you can composite in some more white if you need to. You can crop it, you know, put it on social media. So I like to shoot a little bit looser, especially with these newer cameras. There's a lot of resolution in these newer cameras. You know, this is 46 megapixels. So I don't worry a lot of times when I'm using these backdrops about getting the stands in there. Everybody knows typically that all these photos are going to be reworked anyways. So as long as we get the general concept, I'm good with all of that other clutter that's in there. Let's go ahead and over bright the background real quick. Just go ahead and bring him up by I'm going to say bring them up by at least a stop, maybe 2 stops. Go ahead and come forward. Right there, super. I want to show you what it looks like with the white seamless when you overlight the background, because that's important to know.
They're at
Quarter power, right on. So I hope that blows out the background. So I love making mistakes on camera. This is a deliberate mistake. All right, here we go. Bring that shoulder towards me, this one over there. Rotate right on. Oh yeah, I like that. Okay, it's hard, maybe a little bit hard to see, but there's no texture in that white anymore. It's just literally solid white, no data. And so when you go to print this out, you'll find a problem with her hair. You'll see her hair where it kind of separates. It'll be all crispy and crunchy. It just doesn't look right. So be careful with the brightness of that white backdrop. DIY project number 3. This one I love. This is called a DIY reflective floor. Now, some of you have done the reflective portraiture before, where you have the model and you kind of reflect the model from the floor or something like that. To do that, there's a lot of different ways. I mean, you can try mirrors, but mirrors are crunchy and they break and kind of expensive. You can do like a Lexan type product. You can use basically any type of bright, shiny product, but it all costs a lot of money, and a lot of times it's very expensive. So this solution is the least expensive way to do a reflective floor that I have found. And it's called Thrifty White Panel Board. You'll find this at your local big box hardware store, and you just ask for Thrifty White. It's back in the kind of in the plywood section, or even in the wall paneling section. The same place I bought that brick, I bought this Thrifty White. The Thrifty White is thrifty. It's cheap. It's like 20 bucks per sheet. And you'll see when I get over there, you'll see it's got a nice kind of shiny reflective surface. It's not like mirror reflective, but it's enough to reflect the model. It's not very portable. So this is not the type of thing you're going to take to the school for doing kid portraits. Well, I don't know, maybe you'll take it to the dance studio if you set up a studio for those little kids. But it generally takes about 2 people to set something like this up. Let me talk through the set design, and then we'll take a few photos. Okay, so while I'm talking through this, why don't you come over, and I'm just going to have you stand on it, okay? Go ahead and stand on it here. Oh, one other cool thing about this, see she's wearing heels? It stands up to heel usage, whereas if some other products, she'd poke right through it. So I'm going to have you actually move forward a little bit so I can get here in the background. All right, so let's look at how I set this up. Let me pull this off for cameras. Okay, white seamless. I want to make a point about the white seamless I forgot to make earlier. This seamless here you can see is about, 4 feet wide? And it's easy because it's lighter weight, but 4 foot wide seamless doesn't give you a lot of flexibility side to side. So if you're trying to do this shot, I recommend that your seamless is at least 8 feet wide, 6 to 8 feet at least, okay? So you want some additional width. Now, I bring the white seamless down here like this. I bring it out about 3 feet in the foreground, and then I drop the back side of the Thrifty White. I just put it over the top of the seamless. Now, if I have an 8 foot wide seamless, obviously I want 8 feet wide of Thrifty White in front of it, okay? So what I do is I turn these Thrifty Whites sideways, and then the one in the front, this is important, the Thrifty White panel in the front goes over the top of the back one. Because think about it, if it went this way, you're going to see that seam right there. But if it goes over the top like this, it kind of disappears in the photograph. So that's the pro tip of the day. If you're going full width, and I actually brought two Thrifty White panels today, but we don't have a super wide backdrop for this class. So we're just doing a single one. Next, I had her wear heels. I had her wear heels on purpose because I want that reflection to be very evident. And when she's standing here, I'm going to have her stand in a way that the light is kind of going to shine through her heels so you can see that reflection moving out in front of her. Obviously, for these scenarios, this scenario is a full-length portrait, but you can also, we're not going to shoot this one today, but you can also do like athletic portraits. I'm going to get down on the ground here real quick, cameramen and women. So a lot of times you can do like these athletic portraits where the model is down here with a basketball, or maybe they're doing push-ups, something like that. it's a really cool shot to get that reflection down on the Thrifty White. So, you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay. All right, let's go ahead and pull this light in. I'll move this one into position. You know what? Since we're going full length, let's move that one up this way a bit more. Yeah, cool. And ideally for these scenarios, I'd have larger modifier for both of the front lights, but we're going to work with the small ones now. Now notice what he's doing in the background. We still have to light that background. Now we actually have more space on that background to light. So maybe bigger umbrellas would be worth your while. I do want to point out that you want the light to be evenly lit from the top all the way down to the floor, and even to where the Thrifty White panel impacts, because all of this is going to need to be white. You might have to use 4 lights on the background to pull this off well. Okay. So the positioning is going to be critical here because we don't have a lot of width to work with. So I'm going to, do you mind if I touch your hips?
You're fine.
Cool. Let's do this. Great. Hand up on the hip. Nice. And let's take that backhand and let's do something with the hair or the face. Yeah, like that. It's great. Okay, we'll start with that. I'm looking for feet separation, but we're going to start with that because that's a natural pose. And then I might have you actually do something where the front foot's out. We'll just get a feel. Okay, I need you to very carefully walk that way about 1 inch. Yes, right on. Okay, tethering good? Mm-hmm. Background lights are on? Mm-hmm. Okay, here we go. 85 millimeter lens, long lens. And I'm getting low to show the reflection on the floor. 1, 2, 3. Nice. Okay, let's look at the result here. So you can see the reflection down there. Pretty awesome. More reflection in front of her, you're going to need that Thrifty White to come out even farther. We've got decent lighting down here. You can see how the background is reflecting onto that floor, so we have to deal with that. Maybe work on not having a bright background like this muslin. There's just a lot of things to think about here. A wider seamless, like an 8-foot wide seamless, would prevent this spillover. So that's going to take some Photoshop work. All right, let's go ahead and take that back foot and let's do something so we can see more of that heel. Yeah, perfect. That was yep, perfect. Oh, that's a cool pose. I like it. Let's take it. And I'm going to back up even farther so we can get full reflection there. All right, cool. All right, let's zoom in on that. Go ahead and click on her face and zoom in. That's a little bit too much. Can we go to like 50% zoom? Hit escape. There we go. And then right up there, let's go to 1 to 2. All right.
1, 2.
All right. Sweet. Looks good. I think I need a little more brightness on her, don't you think? She needs to be a little bit brighter. So let's go ahead and you grab that one, bring that one up a stop. I'll bring this one up a stop. 1/8, 1/8?
A 4th.
Okay, you're a quarter on that one? Yeah. Cool. Notice I moved all the lights pretty farther away from her. So because the lights are farther away, I have to up the brightness, the output on each of those. That's a great pose right there. Like it, 1, 2, 3. Nice. And bring your nose towards me. Tilt your head that way tiny bit. Yeah. Nose down towards me. Perfect. Okay. Better brightness. A little better brightness. Again, I would, in the studio, you have time to work on these things. So you get the idea. This floor is cheap, $25. The seamless, I forgot to talk about the cost of the seamless. Typically a roll of seamless you can buy on the online shopping sites anywhere from $30 to $60 for a roll of seamless. So for around $100-ish, you can have this nice reflective floor studio. So this X-Drop is a really neat product, and it's designed so you can set up it's designed so you can have a mobile studio. You can basically go anywhere and have a relatively stable backdrop stand. You see the X drop, their system kind of has this big X. And when you pull that out, Lacey, would you turn it around backwards so that we can get that on camera as well? Yeah, cool. And then when we start taking pictures, we'll rotate around. So the idea with this is that it folds down into this bag. So you can pull this, you can move this bag around. It's made by Westcott. It's called the X Drop. It's a commercial product. They also have all different kinds of backdrops. So the backdrop's basically gray, white, black, patterns, shapes, colors, you name it. The mottled look, the seamless look, everything. So they've got all different types of products you can buy as accessories. So it all folds down well into this little portable bag. Take it with you on location. Great. It also works in the studio. I'm going to walk over there and show you a little bit about it before I take a picture. Let's go ahead and I'll just rotate it. It's not really, you can hang out if you want. It's not super sturdy. So what I mean by that is you're going to need to weight this down if you take it outside. It's going to blow over. I mean, I can pick it up with 2 fingers. That's good and sometimes not good. It's good because it doesn't weigh a lot. It's not good because it's going to blow around. All right, let's go ahead and rotate it. So the one that we chose to use today, why don't we put it right in front of that floor? Yep, perfect. The one we used to shoot with today, maybe let's move the whole thing back, including the white floor, is this wood panel. So we got this wood panel look. You can see it's, we're not going to get any texture or visual relief on it. What I mean by that is you can't cross-light it. And for this, you're not going to want to use a gel or a different color for the background. You're going to want to light it pretty straight. For this first shot, I'm not going to put background lights on it. The only light we'll spill on it will just be the 2 foreground lights. Cool? All right, go ahead and stand about 3 feet from the backdrop. Right on. Pull this one in. Go ahead and bring it in. And let's drop the power on both of those down by 1 stop. All right, so wood paneling. Wood paneling. So what type of wardrobe would the model be wearing in front of this typically? I don't know, something like flannel. Maybe she's got an axe, a little baseball cap, woman of the woods. So her clothing is not necessarily appropriate for the wood paneling. So even though backdrops, you can buy backdrops, I want you to think beyond the backdrop. Think about the design in terms of what's the subject going to wear, what's the model wearing, what's your lighting going to look like. Everything should kind of fit together. Super. How shall we stand on this one? What's a pose we haven't done? Let's put both hands up. So maybe one hand behind the neck.
Hair on the side.
Yeah, let's do hair on the side. Yeah, that's great. And okay, let's try that right there. Actually, I like that. This hand across the tummy and behind the arm. There we go. This hand here. Cool.
Oh.
Yep, just like that. Like it. See how the light works? I've got her positioned fairly close to the background, just to see how that light spills. Oh, I like it. I get excited about my own photos too, Even though I'm an instructor, I'm like, oh, happy. I like it. So that's great. I want to see her hand because I like how her hand is hanging there. So I'm going to back up just a bit. Nice. Nice. And then we'll do one more shot here. I'm going to pull everything forward by about 4 feet. So we got some good separation. I'll get this light. Why don't you get that one over there? And you go ahead and come forward about 1 foot away from the front of that board. Yeah. All right, cool. And let's change the position a little bit. Let's have you just rotate. Yeah. And let's do something different with the hands. Yep. Like it. So now hopefully that background's getting a little bit darker. Yeah, a little bit darker. So back to your question earlier about how bright should that backdrop be. There's no great answer. It's really what's the vision that you have in your head, and then it's through deft adjustment and placement of your lights that you get to adjust the brightness of that background. You can adjust the brightness of the background by moving the model closer or farther away. You can also adjust the brightness of that background by bringing in those lights for the background and increasing or decreasing the brightness of those lights in the background. So we got Abby starting off at the beginning. I like that one there, so I'm gonna mark that with a P. And then we got the PVC wall of light. We'll mark that with a P. I like that one there because it's instructional. And then we had the collapsible backdrop. Oh, that totally awesome Abby smile. Let's make those just a little bit bigger. Even though that wasn't my intent on that one, we'll mark that. And then we went to the brick backdrop, which was pretty cool. And let's go with that one. And then we've got the seamless. So we had the black seamless. We'll go that one. And then we had the red seamless. We'll go that one. And then we had the white seamless with a little bit of sass. And finally, we had the reflective floor. Okay, there's that one. And then we had that one. Okay, P. So now what I'm going to do, I'm in Lightroom, of course. I'm going to just filter. I do a lot of Lightroom teaching, so I have to speak when I do these things. So I'm going to filter by just the flags, and then we're going to Command A to select them all, and then we are going to put them on this screen. And we go Shift, Tab, T, LL. All right, let me interact with this screen here. 7 backdrops, even though that one's a bonus one. I just like that. I like that one. Let's just look at the difference between them all. Let's kind of talk through them real briefly. I got to have my cheat sheet in front of me just to remember exactly what I'm looking at. This was the muslin. Remember the muslin's the big honking thing. It's 10 foot by 12 foot. A lot of options with that muslin. A lot of space to move around. I recommend, if you can afford it, get a 10 by 20 or a 12 by 24. You'll never regret buying a big muslin. Although the person you pay to steam it will regret it. This was that PVC wall of light. I love this tool. One of the things I didn't say about this, and the reason why I showed this one here, you can use this PVC wall of light as a light for the front of the model. It's a great key light. Imagine a full body, full length light, head to toe in the front between the camera and the model. So it's a great light source as well as a background light. All right, we got the smile backdrop, which I love. That's the collapsible. That was made by Savage. And these collapsible backdrops make me smile too because they're so small and portable, easy to move around. We got the brick. Man, that brick came out cool. I love this brick. I just bought my first brick paneling last week, and I'm going to use it for all kinds of stuff moving into the future. So thanks for Creative Live to allow me to teach this class. I got to learn a new technique also. And then we went to the black seamless here. I love black seamless, a lot of flexibility. Remember, you can make that black seamless black or gray, depending on how you light it. Red, there are lots of different colors of seamless. Those of you who have shot with it know you can buy yellow and green and blue and purple and orange. I like red. I think for photographers, red makes a lot of sense. A nice red backdrop every once in a while puts a lot of variety in your photographs. White seamless. Tons of flexibility with that white seamless. You can make the white look white, you can make it look gray. You can see that the look of that white seamless looks very similar to that wall of light. Adding just maybe a third of a stop more light here would have made that really electric white. And then we went to the reflective floor. That was the, what do I call that stuff? The inexpensive product. I forgot the technical name. Thrifty white, thank you. You were paying attention. Yeah, thrifty white, love it. Photographers who've been doing a lot of studio work always have this stuff around in the studio. So, and it's so inexpensive. After it gets all scuffed up and used after a season, you just throw it away and recycle it, and then just bring in some other stuff. And then we've got this thing called the X-Drop, and the X-Drop works great because it's portable, it's easy, it's lightweight, and they have all different types of options. So there are 7 very useful and very actionable tips and tools for you to use for backdrops. Questions? 2 in the front. I know you had to, let's go to you first because you have been waiting patiently.
Thanks. My question is specifically for the the two white backdrops down in the bottom row, and when you do full length, and you did suggest that you were going to use, it would be better to use a larger light source for that.
Yeah.
Would that lighting the floor as well to get a more pure white? Is that what you would be shooting for there?
Yeah, excellent question. When you're doing these reflection shots, pretty much everything has to be well illuminated. And so I've got smaller light sources in here today. My softbox was that ProPhoto 2-foot by 3-foot. Really what I should be doing is having like a 6-foot umbrella or something like that. And if you look at some of my previous Creative Live classes on lighting and flashes, I show some of those really big products that I use. Very helpful.
Yesterday we had a Creative Live class on green backdrops.
Green screen.
Green screens. And what are your thoughts about using a green screen and just swapping different backgrounds?
I made a
instead?
joke. This is Ben's class, right? Yeah, Ben taught another class on green screen. And I made a joke because I saw him around, and I said, I'm just going to refer everyone to your class because the simple solution is do green screen and just swap in the background. This chroma key concept works great. There's a lot of companies out there that actually sell backdrops that you literally drop in Photoshop into your green screen photo. So that's a perfectly viable option, but it does take some post-processing. And so if you're, let me just riff off that for 1 second. Let's say you're shooting a big job and you got kids. Let's say you're shooting at classrooms at school, and those kids are coming through your studio very rapidly, and you've got hundreds and hundreds of photos. Well, that would mean you've got hundreds and hundreds of backdrops that you got to bring in, and you got to mask each one just so, make sure the hair is coming out fine on the green screen. So it can take a little bit more post-processing effort, and whereas this is kind of one and done. Great question.
Tell us where everybody can follow you at home, make sure they stay in touch with you.
Okay, cool. Yeah, you guys can all find me online, of course. I'm on all the socials. So I've got an Instagram account. That's mostly my wildlife. I do a lot of international wildlife and nature photography trips. So lots of birds and lions and tigers and bears at my Instagram. That's at Mike J. Hagan. And then my Facebook is Visual Adventures Co. That's the name of my business, Visual Adventures. And then Twitter is at Mike J. Hagan. And so if you ever need to contact me, you can find me there. You can also go to my website, vizadventures.com, and you can email me, and I will get back to you. I promise you. Feel free to contact me anytime. Welcome, everybody. I'm happy you're here today. We are going to be talking about backdrops, and this is basically an introductory class to backdrops. I want to show you lots of different ideas. I want to show you some simple things that you can do. If you're starting out in photography, this class is good for you. If you've been in photography for a long time, maybe I've got some ideas here that you've never thought about before. But in today's class, we're going to go through 7 different backdrop styles. And everything from things you can buy on your own from a typical camera store to things you can build on your own using PVC pipe and bed sheets, up to things you can buy from your hardware store. So we've got 4 commercial type products that you'll use as a photographer, and then we've got 3 kind of DIY type of products that you'll use. So, backdrops are important for photographers because what they do is they let you control the environment. A lot of photographers are maybe available light photographers, or they go on location maybe to the city park, and you're basically limited to whatever's in the background. So we're always trying to find, some pretty background. Backdrops let you kind of design that and control that. So as a photographer, if you're looking to step up your game, you need to put some thought into the type of backdrop, the colors, the shapes, the design, and in today's day and age, there are so many products that you can buy. I mean, if you go to some of the websites that are out there, there's just an infinite number of backdrops. So I always kind of say that we live in the golden age of backdrops. There are so many options out there. Some of them are designed for studio work, like we are here at the Creative Live Studio. Big, heavy things that just aren't going to move. Other stuff is designed that you can take onto location with you. And so I'm going to show you both today. So I say that we just get started, get going. And the first backdrop that I want to show you is the muslin. I'm going to bounce through here just so we can get to each of these bullets. I always forget how many bullets I have. There we go, 4 bullets. So a muslin, and I'll walk over here in just a second, but basically a muslin is a big honkin' fabric backdrop, and they're generally pretty heavy, and they're in multiple sizes. The one I'm going to show you today is a 10-foot by 12-foot backdrop. The idea with the muslin is they're big. In other words, big means that you can put a lot of people in front of a backdrop, all right? So let me walk over here and show you what this muslin looks like. And just so that things can be clear, I'm going to pull this away from the camera just a bit so you guys can all see what this backdrop is doing. So say hi to Abby. Yeah, so Abby's going to be our model for the first part of this. So the cool thing about these backdrops is they are big. This is 10 feet wide. And so imagine that you've got maybe 2 people in here, you've got 3 or 4 people, you've got a family, you've got the width to cover all of that, all of that that's necessary. Cool? Now, it's 12 feet long. All right, so when you buy a muslin, what I want you to think about is how long do you need this floor runner to be, all right? Right now, you can see that we've got the backdrop up pretty high. It's about, I'm gonna say, well, it's about 9 feet tall. The taller your person is and the farther away they are from the backdrop, the higher that backdrop needs to go. So typically that top bar, I like to have that top bar around 10 feet high, especially if you have a big group of people. You need a little bit more head space because your lens is gonna be wider and all that good stuff. Well, if your backdrop your bar is 10 feet high and then your muslin's only 12 feet long, you don't have a lot of space here on the floor to do like a full-length portrait. So if you have the money, I recommend buying like a 20-foot long muslin because that allows you to have this nice runner out here. You've kind of got this infinity look going floor to ceiling, or head to toe in this case. So for this muslin, we're only gonna be able to do kind of this torso shots or maybe kind of mid-thigh. Beyond that, we're out of luck. So I say that we take our first photo, and that's one of the things I want to do today is I want to take photos, show you in real time what these look like, and we'll do a variety of shots just to give you a bunch of different looks. But even though she's very pretty, she's stunning, the focus today is not on you, my friend. It's on the backdrop. All right, so we're going to start setting up here, and we'll take our first picture with the backdrop. So just a shout out to some of the products that we're using today. I'm using a Nikon D850, and I'll be shooting with an 85mm lens, traditional portrait lens, and that will require me to zoom with my feet. So you'll see me getting pretty close to her and walking back. The next thing I've got is I've got a spider holster system here to hold my camera, which is great for working in the studio. And then tether tools. We've got this thing's tethered to my laptop. I'm using Lightroom. This is a traditional studio setup. For the lights here, I'm using a variety of modifiers, and we don't need to talk about the details here, but I've got a Photix Raha 65. I've got some Pro Photo gear, and then the backdrops, I've got some, the background, I've got some Photoflex umbrellas. And we'll just be have lots of moving parts today. So if you have gear questions, you can always ask those kind of more towards the end. All right, I'm gonna have you move forward a little bit, Abby, right there. Typically, when we're working with backdrops, it's good to have the model about 6 feet away from the backdrop. And my body is 6 feet tall. That means my wingspan is about 6 feet. So a lot of times what I do is I just stand behind the model and put my arms out to get that spacing. It's a good kind of tip to use in the studio. Why do we do it 6 feet away from the backdrop? Well, because we want to manage the shadows, right? If she's right up against that backdrop, we're going to get hard shadows right on that muslin. So, all right, one more shout out. This muslin is made by, I lost my little, Seamless I'm sorry, what's the?
Seamless photo backdrop.
Seamless Photo Backdrops. And this is a Sue Bryce, and it's called the Gold. So Sue Bryce designed this, and it's her gold muslin. It's fantastic. Yeah, let me show that real quick, just because I wanted to show you how this kind of also folds down. It's pretty heavy. It fits into this bag, so you got to fold it. Oh, and there's one more thing to know about these muslins. you have to steam them. And so someone was in here this morning before we started for about an hour steaming the backdrop. They take a lot of care to make them look good. So this is the Sue Bryce Seamless Gold 10 by 12. All right, we're just going to do a quick test shot. Would you get the tether session started and make sure we're good to go there? Just let me know that it's connected. All right, I just turned the camera on. And I'm shooting at f8 at about a 200th of a second. And ISO 400. Here's our first test shot. 1, 2, 3. Make sure that comes through. Okay, go ahead and hit F for full frame. And we'll just leave it there for now. All right, cool. Nice. Almost like we planned it that way, eh? All right, so I'm gonna have you turn this shoulder towards me. Go ahead and put one hand in a pocket. Yeah, sweet. And the other hand, bring up just a tiny bit. Yeah, turn the shoulder towards me a little more. Love it. Yeah, little sass. Sweet. And we're not doing anything too sophisticated with the lights here. 1, 2, 3. Super. Let's cross your arms for the next one. All right, yeah, cool. Hand behind, I like it. Oh my gosh, your smile is fantastic. I'm gonna bring you back in the future. Super, so simple. You can see that background is pretty well lit, and I don't necessarily mean that as a good thing. It's a little bit too bright. So let's drop those lights in the background. Let's cut them. We'll turn them off. And this, I just want to show you how important background lights can be too. You know, even though this class is about backdrops, it's about lighting as well. All right, so the lights are off in the background. And same scenario. Let's have you turn the other way, all right? And hand in a pocket. Cool. Nice. Lovely. And one more. Now you can see how when you turn the lights off in the background, that background really kind of gets much darker. So even though that background is gold, you can see the colors have shifted because we don't have lights on that. So cool. The Sue Bryce Gold Muslin. One other thing on muslins is you can buy these in all different textures, shapes, colors. You can get patterns on them. They're durable. They last forever. So you're going to spend anywhere from, I'm going to say $100 for an inexpensive muslin up to multiple hundreds of dollars for stuff like this that's really well designed. So for those of you who bought the course, I've got a lot of stuff here on set, and everyone's always asking me, hey, where can I buy this? So I've got just purchase links for you, basically called out what I'm using today and where to buy it, what I recommend. Some of these, I do want to fully disclose what's going on. You know, sometimes a sponsor will say, hey, we're happy to send you some gear, but I'm not showing anything on set that I wouldn't use myself. So everything is Mike Hagan approved. Trust me on that. And then the other thing is, if you want to build some of this stuff, like this next one I'm going to show you, I've got schematics and building instructions for how to do this step by step. And I always got to plug my own books, of course. And this next one is from one of my DIY books. It's that Enthusiast Guide book that just came out. So this is taken right from that book. So there you go.